We want to be able to identify trouble before it gets in.
This morning on Inside Kansas Politics, Catholic schools across the nation up security after a deadly shooting in Minneapolis. How schools in Kansas are responding, and could lawmakers take action? Plus,
how much more gerrymandered could it possibly get?
The redistricting fight continues now, reaching Kansas. Could a push to redraw congressional maps in Republican-led states prompt Kansas lawmakers to try ousting the state's lone Democrat again? Our political analyst weighs in.
And your SNAP benefits could be at risk. Why an ongoing fight over the USDA's demand for data could cost the state millions. But first, we start with that deadly shooting in Minneapolis, now prompting action across the country and in Kansas. You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung.
And I'm Rob Hughes. So glad you're here. Now, this all started at a Catholic school mass. Police say 23-year-old Robin Westman started shooting from outside the school while students were inside. Westman eventually killed himself after shooting the victims. 2 children are dead. Many more are hurt.
Now, the 2 children killed were 8 and 10 years old. 14 other children who were hurt range from 6 to 15 years old. And now Catholic schools in Kansas are ramping up security measures. We spoke with Father Matt from Mater Dei Parish in Topeka after the shooting, and he says he immediately spoke with their principal about next steps. The parish is strengthening their security precautions, and this includes keeping parents and students in the loop about what to do in a worst-case scenario event. Catholic schools usually have kids traveling from class to mass, so the plan of action changes.
With a classroom, you can lock the door, you can barricade the door, you can hide. So with the church, we want to be able to identify trouble before it gets in, and time is really of the essence. So the sooner we can identify trouble, the sooner we can get law enforcement to come and help us out.
They run drills every year with the students, but this September they will specifically focus on drills in the church.
And let's bring in our political analyst, Bob Beatty, now. And Bob, we've seen lawmakers respond to this shooting online, mostly with statements. Could we see it go beyond that, though? Could we see legislation possibly next year?
Oh, we could see legislation. We had some related legislation last year. It was in the Senate, Senate Bill 263, which involves standards and requirements for active shooter drills. That actually died in the Senate, didn't go anywhere. So, this is something that lawmakers have been looking at. Now, in other states, they probably would be looking at gun-related bills. We can talk about that a bit. Kansas, though, often the bills related to guns are actually teaching gun safety, teaching how to, what to do with guns. So they're in boxes, lock boxes, things of that nature. Actually, limiting guns has not been a starter in the state of Kansas.
Yeah, Bob, of course, the Minneapolis mayor calling for action following the shooting, calling for an assault weapons ban. But Bob, now given Kansas's history with some Republican lawmakers, of course, hesitant to move in that direction, could it prompt a change in lawmakers' voting tendencies on gun policy? And Bob, like we said, there's been assault weapons bans before in America.
There have, yeah.
Yeah, in Kansas, I don't think so. I mean, at the national level, I don't think so either, unless there is a change in the legislature. In Kansas, what we've seen in school districts is more money for fortified doors and windows and things of that nature. But we saw that, no matter how much fortification there is, how much drill or protection there is, even Donald Trump was shot at and to be honest, nearly killed a few inches, to the right or left. Even with all his protection, he was almost killed by a shooter. So there could be more money spent on those sorts of things or more drills, but at the end of the day, these shooters get these guns that can do lethal damage. It's just horrible.
All right, thank you, Bob. We've got more coming up. President Trump wants Republican-led states to start redrawing maps ahead of next year's election. Could Kansas be next? Top leaders weigh in.
Plus, Kansas gave out too much money to state schools, and now it's asking for it back. How that error happened and how much some districts are on the hook for. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Are you looking for a new truck? You'll find it here at Flint Hills Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Manhattan. Hi, I'm Kyle Eck, owner and CEO.
And I'm Shane Summers, General Manager.
Happening now, Ram 1500s are priced 10% below MSRP. No gimmicks, just real power and real savings. Farm, work, or play, now's the time to take advantage of our Labor Day sales event.
Shop local and save big at Flint Hills Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Manhattan.
So come in or visit us at fhcdjr.com.
Hi, I'm Brian McDonald with Flint Place Wine & Spirits, and today we're going to make a Paloma. For all these ingredients and more, come see us at Fleming Place Wine and Spirits, located just off of 5th and Gage, Topeka's most trusted liquor store.
I was raised in a small town in Texas and knew since second grade that I wanted to work in television news. My first broadcast job was in Waco, and I started the summer before my senior year of college. Fortunately, my next move was to Tulsa, where I met my wife. Another stop was in Minneapolis, where my daughter was born. Over my 42-year career, I've worked in 7 TV markets, even one where I saw moose everywhere. And now Kansas has been my home for the last 7 years, and it's amazing to be a part of the 27 News team, working for you.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella.
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight.
Skylar, come here.
Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Start your week off with a pie. Fox 43 AM Live and Perkins in Topeka are giving away a delicious pie every Monday to a lucky winner. Sign up for your chance to win at KSNT.com. Sweet Rewards Monday, sponsored by Perkins Restaurant and Bakery.
When you wake up in the morning, darling, I'll be by your side.
Be there for an all-new season of Live with Kelly and Mark.
Weekdays at 11 on 27 KSNT.
You are a real-life hero. Your legend is growing.
I'll do it greatest.
Bad guys, they don't play by the rules, so neither can I.
Sundays at 11 on 27 KSNT.
Well, welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. The redistricting fight continues in Texas, but we're now seeing that expand to Republican-led states.
Yeah, in Missouri, it's likely that the process could be streamlined, but with Kansas having a Democratic governor and a Republican-controlled legislature, that dynamic changes. So for Republicans, they would likely have to get a petition approved to call a special session for redistricting. 2/3 majority would have to sign off, and they do have the numbers this year. So the question becomes, how likely is it that this could happen ahead of next year's election? And what would those changes look like? Keep in mind, we know the main target for Republicans would be the state's lone Democrat in Congress, Sharice Davids.
Yeah, in 2022, state leaders redrew the 3rd congressional district following the 2020 census and split up Wyandotte County, changing the voter demographic to lean more Republican. Regardless, Davids actually increased her margin from a 10% victory in 2020 to a 12% victory in 2022. Now, Republican Senate President Ty Masterson is running for governor next year, and he says an endorsement from President Trump, who's pushing for similar efforts in other states, would not impact his decision.
It would be disconnected from whether or not he endorses me or not. That'd feel a little quid pro quo. Would I like to get the endorsement? Great. Do I think I'm the most like him when it comes to this kind of bold government? Yes, but ultimately that's a decision for them to make.
Well, Congresswoman Davids says that she is aware of the idea, and with a new line or not, she plans to run again next year. No Republican has stepped up to challenge her yet.
And we're bringing back in our political analyst, Bob Beatty, now. And Bob, what's your take on this? Because I know that Kansas has restrictions when it comes to mid-decade redistricting for congressional maps, but not for state legislative lines.
Well, so for the state legislature, they're not allowed to do it.
Right.
So for Kansas House, Senate, the Constitution says, nope, you do that once every 10 years, done. But for the congressional lines, like Sharice Davids, these 2nd and 3rd, there's nothing in the Constitution that says they can't. In fact, there's even a court case or two that I looked up pretty quickly that basically said, yeah, the Constitution doesn't ban it. So that's a key point. The legislature can do it. But as you mentioned in the package, Kansas has a Democratic governor. So, she could veto any legislation that is passed, but the Republicans do have that supermajority. So it's a supermajority, but it's not massive. It's not 10, 15. It's a few votes. So it would be a battle, that's for sure. So the question is, for one seat in the state of Kansas, right now it's 3-1 Republicans, do the Kansas Republicans want to go to war essentially for that one seat? And that's also an existential question. You know, Missouri's thinking of doing this too. We can talk about that. But really, should these states be doing it? You know, trying to wipe out another party by gerrymandering, which is playing with the district lines.
I want to expand on that, Bob. You mentioned the other states obviously doing this. They're fascinating times. Can you talk a little bit more? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Rob, you're such a nice guy. Fascinating. I think kind of craven. You know, doesn't matter if it's Democrats or Republicans. Yeah, on the Republican side, we know Texas. Missouri's thinking about it. Indiana, Missouri, Florida, Ohio. On the Democratic side, California is coming out with Governor Gavin Newsom. Oh, you want to do that? Well, I guess we could do that too. Illinois, New York, Maryland. But as I mentioned, there's several of these states. Kansas, it's 3-1. Missouri, it's 6-2 Republicans. In Maryland, it's 7-1 Democrats. Really, in a democracy, we want to wipe out all congressional representation on the House side of the other party? Come on. I mean, I don't think so. I don't think that's really super democratic, but that's really what both sides are now talking about. And I personally don't think it's great for the democracy to do that.
Yeah, and let's talk about what happened the last time Kansas decided to redraw maps and try to oust, potentially, Sharice Davids in her district. When it came down to it, we talked about it, that margin actually grew for her win. Yeah,
you know, I think if Kansas did do this, they made Sharice Davids' 3rd district even more Republican. I still think she probably would keep winning. She's developed what we call home style, which is a real connection with her district. Where it would play would be when she left. And there'd be an open seat. People might revert to their party identification because Sharice Davids is gone, and it would help the Republicans in this case. So I think she's in good shape, but down the road, it could, you know, redistricting could lead to a 4-0 Republican sweep throughout the state. In a state where Republicans are not the majority. They're about 45% of all registered voters. So they don't have a majority, but what they're trying to seek is a majority of all the seats, not just a majority, but a sweep, 100%.
Right, the actual map, when it comes down to it, I mean, some Democrats even saying, like, how much more gerrymandered could it get? I just don't know how they would draw the lines. Would they then maybe bring, like, some areas from western Kansas into her district?
Yeah, of course. Believe me, they can gerrymander more if they want to. Remember, you got that massive 1st district, goes all the way to Colorado, and it's huge. And that's what they did a few years ago to Sharice Davids' district to make it more Republican. They fooled around with the 1st district. They ended up putting Lawrence, Kansas in the 1st district. And if there's some Lawrence viewers here, they're Democrats, they're still very unhappy about it. They say, what do we have to do with the Colorado border? I mean, it's so far away. But as long as the courts okayed it, and in this case, the Kansas Supreme Court actually okayed it. They said it's legal under the Kansas Constitution, this last redistricting. So, you know, it's possible they could do more, yes.
Okay, if it does come up, we'll have to see.
Like it just It'll be interesting to see what happens, Bob. Thanks so much. Well, after the break, we got our Capitol Bureau reporter, Braden Day, breaking down a heated meeting at the State House.
Yeah, the state caught over paying schools for Medicaid costs. Now they want the money back. How much schools are coughing up? That's next. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Congratulations to this month's Everything Woman honoree, Tina Dos Santos Jensen, an acute care registered nurse making her mark at work, in the home, and on social media.
Everything Woman, sponsored by Sharp Honda, Topeka ER and Hospital, and Washburn University.
Car wrecks don't just happen from 9 to 5. If you're in a wreck, we're available 24/7.
Don't wait until tomorrow to get the help you need now. In a wreck, need a check?
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 431-0000.
Blind Tiger Brewery and Restaurant, 37th in Kansas, your hometown steakhouse. We not only brew award-winning local beer, we also feature mouth-watering tender steaks.
Our 100% local beef is never ever. That means no steroids, no hormones, no antibiotics, ever. Farm to table, a Topeka exclusive.
That's good. Blind Tiger, always brewing up something great. Blind Tiger Brewery and Restaurant, 37th in Kansas.
Hi, I'm Brian McDonald with Floyd Place Wine and Spirits, and today we're going to make a traditional margarita. For all these ingredients and more, come see us at Flaming Place Wine and Spirits, located just off 10th and Gage, Topeka's most trusted liquor store.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
You worked hard all year. Now relax for less at Faith Furniture's huge Labor Day sale. Get massive savings on quality name brand furniture and mattresses, all in stock and ready for immediate pickup or quick delivery. Living rooms, bedrooms, dining, everything priced to move. Up to 36 months interest-free financing means you can have it all now. Don't wait. These deals won't last. Huge discounts, interest-free financing, furniture you'll love at prices you'll love even more. Hurry into Faith Furniture, where value lives. You just gotta have faith.
The 27 News mobile app is designed with you in mind. We've provided an experience on our homepage featuring local news blocks, your weather forecast, and easy push notification subscription. Download the 27 News mobile app.
The annual Sertoma Great Topeka Duck Race provides an easy fundraising opportunity for nonprofit and charitable agencies. Enlist your team at topekaduckrace.org.
Kelly's all new this fall.
Weekdays at 3.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. Now moving to the latest controversy at the State House. Kansas overpaying schools and asking for the money back. $11 million to be exact.
Yeah, this is overpayment. It was for Medicaid reimbursement costs, and our Capitol Bureau reporter Braden Day in studio now to tell us just how much some of these districts are paying. Braden.
Yeah, Rob and Rebecca, this miscalculation is definitely costing Kansas schools. Now, keep in mind, Kansas reimburses schools for providing Medicaid services to its students, and that includes counseling, mental health, and nursing services. Since 2016, the state has been overpaying districts for Medicaid reimbursement costs. Several Kansas districts recently notified the state regarding that error. Now, the state is trying to correct this issue by asking school districts to return the money. 70% of districts will be required to reimburse the state. For most schools, it's a relatively small amount. However, larger districts such as USD 259 in Wichita are being asked to send back millions.
For Wichita, we specifically had to give back just over $3 million because of this calculation error. These are our students, and this is our revenue, and we count on this revenue. We budget for this revenue. It's hard to be told you owe $3 million. No one wants to receive that kind of, message in the mail.
Additionally, the Kansas City School District is being asked to send back more than $800,000, and the Topeka and Manhattan districts will each be required to send back about $400,000 each. Rob, Rebecca, back to you.
And Braden, we're talking millions of dollars, like you said. So on top of that, the state is also getting ready for the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act from D.C. So what sort of impact would that have?
Yeah, Rebecca, I would say generally what we're seeing, the impact that the bill is going to have here in Kansas is there's some good and there's some bad. I would say when it comes to agriculture programs here in Kansas, there's definitely a few of those programs that are going to see a pretty significant boost in revenue over the next few years. But then some other programs such as health and community wellness programs that might see some pretty significant cuts. And then I think another aspect of this is when it comes to Medicaid and SNAP benefits, as anticipated, we're going to see fewer Kansans be eligible for those programs. And so that's definitely something to keep our eye on as well.
Right.
All right, Brandon, thanks so much. Great work as always. And Bob, nothing worse than getting a bill in the mail you didn't expect, right? It's happened to me. But on this magnitude, this situation, what are your thoughts? How does this happen, Bob?
Yeah, human beings, right? I think we see it probably more often at the federal level. Social Security, sometimes we'll see a story saying we overpaid or something, and it's always a sort of a sad story, someone who can't afford it, and usually the federal government is like, well, you got to send it back, or especially the bank, right? There's a bank error, you really don't have that money. Kansas is offering these districts to a payment plan, so-called payment plan, that they don't have to pay it all back at once if they don't want to. Maybe that'll alleviate some of the pain. But yeah, in any bureaucracy like a state or a large corporation, these things happen. What's interesting is it's been going on for so many years and no one had caught it, and that can happen too, and it makes it much worse when it goes on for so long.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. When we come back, we're talking SNAP. What's at stake as state and national leaders battle over your data?
Why Kansas is refusing to hand it over, and why Kansas Republicans are calling it a cover-up. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
'27 News, honoring veterans through Veterans Salute.
We're proud to honor our veterans for their service to our country.
And we would love to share their stories. Please nominate a veteran at KSNT.com.
Be sure to watch 27 News Wednesdays at 10 p.m. as Devon James Injury Lawyers and 27 News honor our veterans with a Veteran Salute. Veteran Salute, sponsored by Devon James Injury Lawyers.
Frank has worked at Dillon's for 15 years. This job gave him confidence and taught him that he has a voice. Support SLI's annual giving campaign. Help someone find their voice.
My hopes about my chaplaincy is that I'm really gonna be a person whom officer gonna trust to. It's where ministry of Dr. Stanley is very important to me personally. He's a mentor for me, how to bring the message across and how to bring the essence of good news to people who need it.
When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. Well, there's so much they hold.
It's hard to imagine that this powerful, beautiful animal needs our help, but they are being killed for their skin and bones, and their homes are being destroyed. But there is hope. Tigers are at the heart of so many delicate ecosystems. When you protect a tiger, you also protect thousands of species and people that rely on the same habitat. When we protect tigers, we all benefit. Learn how you can make a difference.
It's the 30th anniversary of the Sertoma Great Topeka Duck Race, and on September 13th, thousands of ducks will virtually race their way to the finish line. Amazing prizes will be given to the lucky winners after the race. Prizes include this 2016 Ford Edge provided by Noller Auto Group and a chance to win $1 million. Adopt your ducks at TopekaDuckRace.org and help benefit community programs supported by the Sertoma Clubs of Topeka. Hey, Quacky, what should everyone do? That's right, adopt your ducks today at TopekaDuckRace.org.
The Xfinity Series drivers gear up for another high-speed showdown. Feel the energy live in St. Louis. Get your tickets now at NASCAR.com/tickets. Don't miss your chance to experience the Xfinity Series live and in person.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. And finally this morning, the Kansas House Speaker is criticizing DCF and Governor Kelly, calling their refusal to give the U.S. Department of Agriculture information on SNAP recipients a cover-up.
Millions of dollars are at stake. And last week, the USDA sent a letter to DCF and Governor Kelly telling them they have 30 days to comply with the request. Now, they want DCF to send them all the information they collect when determining someone's eligibility for SNAP, pointing to the state's high error rate. This includes names, birthdays, social security numbers, home addresses, and income information. If they don't comply, the federal government will withhold more than $10 million each quarter. Now, this puts Kansans who use SNAP benefits at risk.
Republicans like Speaker Dan Hawkins are accusing the governor of protecting services for those in the country illegally. But Democrats argue the timing of the request does not add up because the error rate has gone down in the past few years. They say that this is a privacy issue and has nothing to do with fraud or waste.
I don't know any Kansan that wants the federal government to have the most intimate details of their lives at their fingertips without any kind of significant oversight. And the governor understands that, and that's what she's advocating for.
We could save losing, $10 million, and that's money that could be used for needy families in order to have food. It could be used just for regular Kansans. I mean, the effects are pretty large, and so math-wise, I think it just makes sense to comply instead of having this political fight and risking the whole program failing.
And Bob, what could happen if the state does turn over that information to the USDA? What factors come into play here?
Well, the USDA says they're going to set up a database. And what Kansas and California is actually the state that's suing in this action, and that's why it's in court. Kansas is saying, well, what do you need this database for? And the federal government is saying, well, to stop fraud and other things. And Kansas is saying, we already have a fraud program with the federal government. We've been doing it for many, many years. The error rate actually has to do with mistakes, Kansas admits it, that we make when we're figuring out eligibility. Mistakes made by Kansas workers. It has to do with training and not finding qualified workers, and they're working on that. But it's not fraud. That's what Kansas is arguing. So really it's about what was called federalism. So when I don't want to go too deep into this, but Ronald Reagan was president in the 1980s. He had a concept he called the new federalism. The whole idea was that the federal government thought that Americans trusted their local and state governments more than the federal government. So let them do things like Medicaid, SNAP, and the federal government would give them the money and they would do it more efficiently because it was at the local and state level. And that was Ronald Reagan called the new federalism. Here, the federal government is saying to Kansas and other states, we don't trust you. Give us more data. And the states are saying, what are you going to do with it? And we don't trust you. And it's a little bit of battle there. Where do the American people lie? I think since basically 1783, American people lie on the idea of a little bit of mistrust of the federal government. Now, that goes for Biden, Obama, Trump, whoever is president. But we also know at the beginning of this year, with Doge, we had Elon Musk bringing in 22-year-old tech bros that were going through people's data, right? We know that. So that's why there's a little bit of mistrust going on here. If we don't have to give this data, Kansas is saying, California, other states, we'd rather not. So it's in the courts right now. All Kansas is saying is, let's wait and see what the judges say, whether we have to give it up. If the courts say we do, Kansas saying, then we'll give it up.
Right, and then we have Kansas House Speaker Dan Hawkins coming out and calling this something bigger, a cover-up of some sort. What's behind that?
Well, he has evidence, right? I mean, I'm being facetious, kind of. Yeah, we can call anything a cover-up. If it's a cover-up, my goodness, that's a big deal. Where's the evidence? He says he's going to have the legislature look into it. That's great. That's what he should be doing. But the key really is, again, that private data. If it's a court case, and if states don't have to give up private data to any federal government, it's probably best that they don't, right? Because why have more databases that could be breached by the Russians and everyone else out there that's breaching databases? Why form a new database that could have 700,000 Kansans, and that's how many are involved with applying for the SNAP program, 700,000 Kansans and their private data. I don't want the federal government taking any extra private data of mine. If the courts say, oh, yep, got to give it up, then they will. Now, the key is the courts have to examine. The law says that if the federal government needs data to administer the program, that's the actual language, then the states have to give it up. And Kansas is saying, you don't need this to administer the program. We're already working on fraud. So a court's going to figure this out.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. If you want to keep up to date on all things Kansas politics, then follow us on social media. Follow us on X at InKS Politics, and on Facebook, just search Inside Kansas Politics.
We're also going to post the full video on YouTube. Just search KSNT News and check out Inside Kansas Politics on KSNT.com for past episodes. If you have a story you think we should cover, let us know. You can email us at ikp@ksnt.com.
We'll see you right here, same time, same place. Have a good day.